Hello.
Hello, Harold.
It's just us two?
For a minute, I thought that maybe there's no shear game tonight.
No, I checked. I just checked. It's 8 o'clock. They said so. Here we
That's
are.
what they said, 8 o'clock. Anyway.
Maybe we're getting rained out. It's raining so hard now. Wow.
Wow, man, I have an awning outside.
Yeah.
So, I put it up halfway, 3/4 of the way so that it doesn't it nearly collapsed. I had to push off all the water.
Oh, so much water gathered. Wow.
It gathered like so fast.
Yeah, there was one section that was coming down, like cats and dogs.
I just had to empty 2 inches of water in the pool.
Well, you're right.
It's overflowing.
Mario, I could use 2 inches. Send it over here.
Oh, okay.
How do you let out 2 inches of water out of the pool?
I open, there's a valve underneath the filter. I just open it and it just goes out. I let the pump working.
Where does it go?
I have a little piece of soil on the side.
Oh, I gotcha.
Maybe you can come over and get my pump to work. It doesn't work.
Of all times.
Can you stop this recording, please, Mario, until we start?
But then you have to remind me because last time I did.
You must, when you come back, it's a Simon Brocha because it hasn't stopped raining since you arrived.
Yeah, we don't have to ask for.
Right. Okay.
72.
Ayin Bey, Torshma. When do we say that when the husband dies, the right of annulling the neder falls to the father? That's bisman shaloi shrama habal. Either in a case where he had died and he had never even heard the neder, or shrama vehefer, or maybe the Baal heard and immediately annulled and then died. Then of course the father now has to do his thing because it's a combination of annulment. It's got to be the husband and the father.
But then the father also heard it, right?
Well, we don't know whether the father heard it. What we're saying is
So
the right of annulment now falls to the father in a case where either the husband died without hearing it, or the husband heard it and annulled it, but that's not enough. It's got to go to the father because both the father and the husband has to annul. Or the third possibility, Shama, the husband heard Bishosak and was silent. Umeis bo bayom. If he was silent for 24 hours and then he died, so that's a kiyum, right? If the husband doesn't say anything for 24 hours, there's a kiyum. But it has happened. We died the same day that he heard it, and he had been silent. Okay, we've learned this before. Now, what are we bringing this for? Because we asked the question: if a husband divorces his wife, he hears a neder and then divorces her, is that like being silent, or is that like affirming the neder? Now, Amrit gerushin kishasika domu. If divorcing is like being silent, so there would have been a fourth possibility. Listening nami, the Brisa could have said also, not just shama v'hefer, but shama v'giresh, like shama v'shosak. Midelo toni hachi, from the fact that the Brisa did not bring it, must be shmamino gerushin kakomadomu, that the act of divorcing his wife after he hears the neder is like he was Makayim the neder. Okay. Ema Seifa. Is that George?
Yes.
That's moi.
George, Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem Shalom. Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back. I want to introduce George. George was a classmate of mine in high school in Rambam. George Fishman, Dr. Fishman, was an outstanding nephrologist. And George and I met recently, and he wanted to join our Daf Yomi Shir. Harold, you remember Richie? This was Richie and I's classmate, George Fishman.
God,
Right.
that goes back. Don't bring bad memories.
Right,
Jeez.
George. Harold is Richie Katz's older brother.
Oh, very good. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. And we have
Outstanding.
Walter Feinblum and Mario Horowitz and Kenny Alter. We have a few other
Thank you.
people in the group. Okay.
Where do you
that's-
live,
Welcome,
George?
welcome.
I live here in it's North Beverly Hills, actually Holmby Hills.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Say hi to Barbara.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're in the Dorim, Ayin Bays, Ahmed Aleph, and we're dealing with a wife who makes a neder, and the husband, we're talking about a girl who's between 12 and 12 and a half, so she's a Nara, and she was given Kiddushin, so it's not a full marriage yet, it's not Nesuin, it's only Kiddushin, and in that state, the husband and the father have the ability to annul the neder within the first 24 hours. In fact, they have to do it together. One or the other can't do it individually. So we asked the question, if a husband heard a neder from his wife and then divorced her, gave her a get, is it like being silent? Which if you're silent for 24 hours, it's like a kiyum. But if it's not 24 hours, it's really nothing. And then if he had, or is it as if he was Mekayim the neder? That is, he affirmed the neder. And the fact that the Baraisa that we brought did not bring that he heard and he divorced her, it must be that giving a divorce is like affirming the neder. Okay, Ema Seifa. Let's look at the second part of the Baraisa. Aval im shama v'kiyem. If the husband had heard the neder and formally affirmed it. Oh, second possibility. Shama v'shasak. He heard the neder, was silent. Umeis b'yom shalachra. Like we said before, if a husband hears a neder and is silent for 24 hours, that is like you affirm.
No,
That is like
yes,
that is like you
I
affirm.
know, but I can't get hold of Jose. What can I do? I don't have anybody else.
Yeah, Mario, you should mute yourself.
Mario? Okay, maybe he
Hold
muted.
on a second, hold on a second. 1 second, please. Hello?
Mario?
Yes, and I have a call.
Go ahead and mute yourself.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Beautiful. So if a husband hears the neder and doesn't do anything for 24 hours, it's as if he affirmed it. And therefore, if he dies at that point, the father doesn't have the right to annul the neder because the husband had already affirmed it. Now, and if a husband giving a divorce to his wife is as if you were Makayim the neder, so we should have brought that as an option as well. Listening, the Brisa should have said v'im shama v'giresh. That another option besides im shama v'kiyem should have been im shama v'giresh. From the fact that the Brisa did not give that as an example, must be shmami no gerish and kishasikadomu. That giving a divorce to your wife is as if you were silent, not as if you were makayim. So Elameha says the Gemara lekel mishmine. This Brisa, the Reish and the Seifa teach the opposite dinim. So you can't learn anything from this Brisa. Because Reisha Dafka, because if you're going to tell me the Reisha was going to really make the statement that Gerushin was like being silent, Nosiv Seifa Mishum Reisha, then you could have made an argument that the Seifa was brought to contradict the Reisha, and Seifa Dafka Nosiv Reisha Mishum Seifa. So that Brisa is not an effective proof. Okay, the Gemara tries again. Toshma. I'll bring you another brisa. Nadra v'hi arusa. You have a Nara who is been given kiddushin, so she's an arusa, and she made a neder, vinis garsha, and her husband who gave her kiddushin gave her a divorce, and she met another man on the same day, vinis arsa bo bayom, and the second man also gave her kiddushin, and then he divorced her. Afilu lemeya. Let's take it an extreme example. Let's say it happens 100 times on the same day. What's the din? Avia ubayla ha'achron mefirin nedarim. Who has the right to annul the nedarim? The last man standing, the father, and the last husband who's in the picture. Now, it's clear then, based on this, that if gerushin was like kiyum, well, once there's a kiyum of the neder, you can't annul it anymore. So it must be the 99 previous divorces on that day was like being silent. It was not kiyum. Shema mina, because it allowed the last husband and the father to still have the right to annul the neder. So gerushin in that case is k'shesika damu, because the ika kama damu. Because if you're going to tell me that gerushin is like kiyum, mimotzi mefer oris aklon, nidrid oikamaris rishon. The last baal, the last husband, is not going to be able to undo nedarim that were stated in front of the first husband. So the more answers could be because hachamayiskinon b'shaloi shama arus rishon. A husband has to hear the nedarim for him to be even in the picture of either annulment or kiyum. This brisa is talking about where the first 1 or 99 husbands never heard the neder. And that's why the last husband still has a right. But if the first husband had heard and divorced, maybe it does mean kiyum. So the Gemara says, if we're talking about a case where the first 99 husbands hadn't heard the neder, if a husband doesn't hear the neder even after a year, he has to hear the neder. If he never heard it, he's not in the parsha. So the Gemara says, talking about a case where if the man who gave her kiddushin didn't hear anything, and the father heard it, and debo bayom, and it's on the same day, that's when the father, hu de matzi mefer, that's where the father still has the right to annul. But beyond that first day, he would not be able to annul because the father already heard it. The Orus did not hear anything. The Orus cannot annul on another day if the father had already taken some kind of action after he had heard the neder. So you can't really learn also from this brisa about the case of gerushin. Okay, the Gemara will try a third proof, Toshma. Nadra bo bayom. On the same day that she made a neder, Girsha, the husband divorced her. Bechzira bo bayom. Now, as long as there hasn't been an intervening marriage, a husband's allowed to remarry his wife that he divorced. So the man who divorced her remarries her on the same day. The din is, ein yachol lahafer. Now that he remarried her, he can't be made for the original neder. Shma mina, gerushin ka'komadamu. From this brisa, it seems to imply, why can't he annul the neder when he remarries her? Must be that gerushin acts as a kiyum of the neder, and therefore you can't annul it anymore. So the Gemara says that's not a proof. Amri, hacha b'nesuas kina. Here we're not talking about a girl that only got kiddushin. We're talking about the husband actually brought her under the chuppah with nesuin. And v'hainu time eden yachal afer mishum dein abal mefer b'koidmin. A a husband does not have the power to annul nedorim that occurred prior to Nisuhin. That's why he can't be made for the neder. But if it was a case where there was only kiddushin, maybe gerushin would be kiyum, or would be. We don't know. In fact, the Gemara ends this sugya here without resolving the question in terms of what is the status of gerushin. Now, we brought already the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch that said that if a man gave kiddushin and the wife made a neder and he didn't annul it and he divorced her, the father cannot annul it. So it's like kiyum. So we go l'chumra, since it's a suffix how we paskin, since the Gemara didn't resolve the issue. And similarly, if he remarried her after divorce with kiddushin, or another man gave her kiddushin, the second one cannot be made for either. Because the Gemara didn't resolve it, it's left of a suffix. Whenever we have suffix d'oraisa, we always go l'chumra. Suffix d'rabbanon, laws that are rabbinic laws, if it's in doubt how we paskin, we are always lenient. But since nedarim are a din d'oraisa, since the halacha is left as a suffix, the psak is l'chumra. Mishnah. We're on Ayin Beis Amud Beis. Derech Talmidei Chachamim. Ad shelo haysa bita yotza me'etzlo, oimer lo. Talmidei Chachamim would teach their daughters before they got married. Kol nedarim shenadarta b'soch beisi. All the neders that you made while you lived in my house are a move for it. The father will annul all nedarim that she had made while living in the house with him. V'chein abal. Ad shelo tikanas l'shuso omer lo. A husband, before he marries her, says kol nedarim, similar to kol nidre. He pre-annuls nedarim. Kol nedarim shenadarta ad shelo tikanas l'shusi. All nedarim that you make until I actually take you into chuppah, harei mufarim. Shemetikanas l'shuso ena yachol lahafer. Once he takes her as his wife, he doesn't have the right to be made for prior nedarim. So, boy, Rami Bar Chama asked the following theoretical question: Baal ma'u sheyafer b'lo shmiya. Can a husband annul a neder that he didn't hear? The Torah says, V'shama isha, the husband heard. And maybe the law is dafkahu, means if the husband didn't hear the neder, he can't annul. Or lav dafka. When the Torah writes V'shama, it's describing the normal case. But if he didn't hear the neder, he can also annul it. So Amar Rav Toshma, Derech Talmidei Chachamim, Ad shelo yotzes bito me'etzlo. Before a daughter would leave a Talmid Chacham to get married, Oimer lo kol nedarim shenadarta b'soch beisi harei mufarim. Nedarim that you made while living in my house, I'm gonna annul all of them. How could he do so? V'haloi shama. The father didn't hear all these nedarim. How could he be mefer? Must be that he has the right to annul nedarim that he never heard. So the Gemara says no. What he's saying is l'chishama hu de mefer. He's sort of making a t'nai that if he ever hears that she makes him a neder, he says in advance that any nedarim that he's going to hear her make, he will annul it. But in essence, he has to hear the nedarim before he has the right to annul it. So in Cain, Kilo Shama Lama Leila Meimar. So then, if he didn't hear the nedarim, why is he making this statement? Kamash Malon, to teach me that Urcha D'Tzur Rabbanan Ladure, that it's the manner of Talmidei Chachamim to check all the time. Maybe she made a neder, and she'll tell him about it. And if she tells him about it by having this dialogue, he'll be prepared to annul it. Okay. Toshmami Seifa. I'll bring another proof regarding this question, whether a husband can annul Nedarim without hearing, from the Seifa of the Baraisa, or our Mishnah. The husband would do the same thing. So before he takes her to the chuppah, Oimer law, he says also, like we said in the Mishnah, any Nedarim that you make are annul. So if he hadn't heard those Nedarim, yet it seems that the Mishnah is giving him the koyach to annul the neder. So this also is a case of Hachanami, the Amar lo l'chishomana. He's talking about the future, that if I ever hear that you make a neder, it should be annulled, it's pre-annulled. Okay, so no proof from that part of the Mishnah. Okay. Tarshma, I'm bringing you a case from a Baraisa. Any Nedarim that you make from now, come back from a trip to China, they're going to be certified. If he says such a thing, lo amar klum, it doesn't have halachic validity, and it does not serve as a kiyum for the neder. However, if he says harei hein mufarid, he says I'm going on a trip to China, and between now and when I come back, any nedarim that you make shall be annulled. So that's already a machlokas. Rabbi Eliezer oimer mufer. Rabbi Eliezer says that they're annulled. Well, fake the Gemara, v'haloi shoma. How can he annul a neder that he hasn't heard? So again, the Gemara answers, when I hear about it from you, they'll be mufer. But not, I don't have the ability to annul without hearing. So, v'lamali min hashta, then why am I making any pre-statement before my trip? Let it just be when he hears about the nedarim that she makes, annul it. Well, maybe he'll be busy at that time, and he'll forget to annul. So he's annulling from the beginning, and there'll be an automatic annulment once he hears. But again, there's no proof regarding our question of whether a baal can be made for without hearing from the three sources that we brought so far. Toshma. However, lapatropis. Let's say before going on a trip to China, he appoints an executor to deal with the expenses and in his absence from the house. That's an apotropos. And he tells this agent, he gives him a command. Any nedarim that you hear my wife make until I get back from my trip from China, hofer, I want you to annul. And veheferlo. And the apotropos carries out this command and annuls nedarim that he hears. I might think that the annulment will be a good annulment. Talmud Loimer, no. Isha yikimenu v'isha yiferenu. Right. Only the husband has the right to be makayim a neder or to annul a neder. And you cannot give over that right to a third party. Div Rabbi
Why would they even have a havamina? Why would they even have a havamina if we know that the state cost?
Because you're going to tell me, shlucho adam kamoso. The havamina is he appointed a shaliach. I can appoint a shaliach to give a woman kiddushin on my behalf. We know I can give a shaliach a get to give to a person. So because of the concept of shlucho adam kamoso, Walter asks good, but it seems that there was a havamina that it should work.
Yeah, but this is like a din. This is a classic of Sada. This is a different din It's a brisker. It's a different din. It's a classic din on the kiddushin and the gitin is a din on the chefza. You took the chefza of the kiddushin, you made kiddushin. You took the chefza of the gerushin, you made gerushin. But nedarim is a din on the guf. So why would there somebody, excepting the husband, because you have a special pasuk, otherwise the husband wouldn't be able to do that. So it's a din on the guf. So what's the other? It's completely different din.
Okay, but so obviously Rabbi Yoshia held against Rabbi Yonasan that you might have thought that the apotropos he could give such a command to the apotropos. Says Rabbi Yoshia, we learn from the pasuk that no, only the father can. However, says Rabbi Yonasan, Amar lo Rabbi Yonasan, Matzinu b'chol haTorah kula shlucho shel adam kamoisoi. We find in all other dinim that if you can appoint a shaliach. Now, you have a mitzvah of tefillin. Tefillin you have to put on your body. So I can't appoint a shaliach to put on tefillin. That's what you're talking about, a mitzvah begufo. For example, shaking the lulav. I have to shake the lulav. I can't appoint an apotropos to do so. Eating matzah. I've got to eat the matzah. A shaliach cannot do that mitzvah for me. But there are some things that can be done via shaliach. And Rabbi Yonasan says that the ability since the husband has the right to annul the neder, he can appoint a shaliach to do so as well. That's what the Gemara says. Now, Vafilu Rabbi Yoshia loika Omar. Rabbi Yoshia also rejects the ability of an apotropos to do it. Elam mishum d'exersa kosavu, because of the pasuk. Ishayi kimen v'shafirenu. Aval dekula alma shlucha shalom kamoso. But he doesn't reject the halachic concept of a shliach. A person can make a shliach and it serves like him. And yet, the thought might be that the apotropos could do it, v'halo shmiele, and the Baal never heard it. The nedarim must be a raya that the Baal has the ability to be made for nedarim even without hearing. So the Gemara again rejects this proof. Let's go to Ayin Gimel. I'm going to learn, Mario, why don't you tape?
Yeah,
Ayin
hold on.
George, these are taped so that people on rza.org, which is, or Daf Doc, DAFDOC,